ultimate goal is to help transform people's lives, right? As many people as we can, because it doesn't only affect the person, it affects the families, the community, the workplace, everyone. And I think that we're coming back from.
Welcome back to another episode of Intrepidus podcast with your host, Dan Anthony, episode number 39. Today we have Alyssa Reyes from RYSE Recovery. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. So tell us a little bit about RYSE Recovery and the sober living homes.
Okay, so we are located in Woodbridge. We also have 2 locations in Mercer County near the Princeton area. So we started out as just a women's house. I'm in recovery, and I thought to myself, women, it's very needed. There's not a lot of women's homes. So we opened up in 2020, and we support the recovery community, people who are coming out of treatment or just need help, accountability along the way, and need to come live in a sober living home.
Only women?
No, so we have 4 men's houses and 2 women's houses.
Okay. Do you typically see, are there some homes that do men and women together, or
no,
that's
that would
always
not be
men
good.
and or women?
No, that'd be
Yeah,
trouble.
it's-
Always separate.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Didn't
always
know that.
men or women, yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the process of sober living homes. You know, how exactly do people come to you? Why do they come to you? And what kind of treatment should they expect while they're with you?
Okay, so typically people who are in treatment, they call and they say, my family won't allow me to come back home, or I'm currently homeless. I'm looking to come to sober living. And so we'll interview them, usually with their therapist. They fill out an application online, and then we'll do the interview. And then if they're accepted, we'll schedule a date for them to move in. I'd say people usually stay between 6 months and a year. And then we have people who have been with us 2 years. Oh. So it really all depends. I mean, people who have relapsed in the past, they'll tend to stay a little bit longer to get a good foundation, because while they're there, we're making sure that they're going to meetings, they have a sponsor, they're going to work, they're participating and showing up in life without the use of substances.
Take us down this road of recovery, why it's important for you, and how did this become a part of your life?
Okay, so my parents I grew up next to a bar. My parents owned a bar, and until they didn't, and their addiction kind of spiraled. And once that happened, they got divorced, and I wound up, dabbling, partying on the weekends kind of thing. And then eventually I had an injury, and I became addicted to pain medicine. And then it got way worse from there. And I was in and out of treatment from the time I was, I'd say, 18 to 28. Wow. Yeah, and in institutions and things of that nature.
What flicked the life for you to make you want to be better and be clean? Because I know a lot of people who are in addiction, and we've had a lot of people and guests in the past, like they continue to fight this battle until one day there's a wake up call, and it's like, this is it. I'm really going to take it serious, because you bullshit your way through treatment, right?
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you finally have to make that decision. Like, what made that decision? How did you make that decision?
Well, initially, I was caught up with the law, and they were making decisions for me. And eventually that didn't work, right? Because I didn't have the desire myself. I was being forced to. And eventually I made the decision. I looked around, and I was like 26 years old. And I was like, I always lived my life like, well, I don't have anything to lose. And that's how I lived my life, right? It was balls to the wall with whatever I was doing. And then I looked around and I said, man, I have nothing to gain. Like, I've been in and out of recovery trying to stay clean for years now. And people that I knew, they were having lives worth living, right? Like having families, going back to school. And here I am just, every bottom had a trap door. So I just things kept getting worse for me. So finally I said, if I'm ever going to have a family and follow my dreams, I need to get clean.
Wow. So, how hard was it through the process? And you've been clean now for how many years?
10 years.
10 years. They always say, like, through your first couple of years, it's hard, triggers and all that. Like, how has that played a part in your life?
So the first couple years was really tough because I had to stay away from my parents, right? People, places, and things, and all the people that I partied with. So I moved into sober living to help keep me accountable and lean on people when I was going through things, right? So going back to work, getting my driver's license back, like I was riding my bike to 5 miles to a job at 28 years old, and people my age who had cars, they didn't want to hang out with me. They were like, you're fucking weird. Like, I was just like, pretty much, I owned that I was super awkward, but like I kept coming, I kept going to meetings, I kept talking to people, and they would encourage me at the meetings. And I went to outpatient, and I let people help me because my parents, like, they enabled me, right? They were still using at the time. They didn't do hardcore stuff. So they were just like, there wasn't a problem for them. So, yeah.
There's a lot of similarities between abuse and entrepreneurship, where you either need one of two things, or most times both is greater, but you need to have the attitude to say, fuck you, I'm going to do what you think I'm not going to do, or two, a robust support system around you. And that's why I think we talked about it before, we see a lot of success out of, users that, or people who've become clean, sober. But tell us a little bit about RYSE. I noticed you have a rooster as on your logo. Where'd the rooster come from?
One day, my partner, his name's Rick, he was messing around in his studio, and they started doing these videos just to joke around, and they were putting this rooster in the beginning of the videos because, it's like rise and shine, right? The cock-a-doodle-doo. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure some other ridiculous things that men think of, right? So he started doing it, and it was so funny. Like, I would be in places, in meetings, and you would hear the rooster on people's reels, and people just thought it was hilarious. So it caught fire. And basically, like, the rooster's the first one up, right? Like, rise and shine, motherfucker type shit,
Love it.
So it kind of stuck with us, and we added it to the logo.
Or what really is a responsibility of a sober living home? And let's just say somebody is in recovery right now, dealing with the same situation that you explained before, where they don't have a place to live, or their circles currently right now are not advantageous to their recovery. What sets aside a sober living home that is owned and operated by RYSE against maybe someone else's sober living home?
Okay, so I feel like I know that we create an environment that encourages growth, and we have such a great culture of people who are motivated to get to the next level in life. And me and my partner, we both own other businesses too. So it's not just like, you're going to come here, you're going to coexist, and hopefully you'll stay clean. No, you come in and you have to meet certain expectations in order to continue to live there, right? So you have to make meetings. You have to get your meeting sheet signed. You have to go to 4 a week. You have to get a temporary sponsor. You have to either be in treatment or have a job or be looking for work. You have to be home by curfew. You have to be passing drug tests, all these things. And it's not like, we're like line up in a lieutenant or anything like that. People want to have this accountability because they see that it works through all of the other success stories that we have. And whatever they were trying prior was not working for them. So when they come to we have people that say, hey, I want to stay on the waiting list. I really don't want to go anywhere else, because the other thing is that I think it's important to make recovery attractive because people think, oh yeah, I'm not going to be able to go out to the bar or to the football game and tailgate with my boys anymore, or go out, having wine with my girls. And it's not true because we still do all of these fun things in recovery. It's just you don't need the substance to kind of loosen up, and we show people that by the events that we do.
So, how much of a part? Well, your partner from going through recovery as well.
Yeah, he's in recovery.
Okay. How much of a role do you guys play in your homes?
Oh, I was just on the phone with a client earlier. And so is he. So we have managers that live in every house, but we talk to people. We get involved when we need to. We're at events. We do fun stuff. We just did a roller skating event. So we're very involved in the business. It's really, I feel like it's my soul's purpose, and it doesn't feel like work for me.
So you went to recovery. You open up these houses. You said how many? 6?
6 houses. Yeah.
6 houses, and you started with just one?
Yeah, just one.
So how does it evolve from 1 to 6?
It happened organically. We've done zero marketing. It's all been by word of mouth, and we would have waiting lists, and we wanted to serve more people because the need was there, right? And we got tired of people calling and saying, hey, we don't have a bed available. And these poor people have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go to rebuild their life because there was such a shortage on sober living. There is another model out there called Oxford House. I went there. I lived in a very strict house, but some of them are not as, there's not a lot of accountability there because it's self-ran.
So, how did you guys go from 1 to 6? Investors, self-funded? Like, how did this all work?
No, it's self-funded. We basically just kept buying houses. It's self-funded.
Got it.
So how exactly does that work? You just buy a house and say, okay, this is a sober living home now, or is there some kind of additional requirements that are needed?
No, we apply for the licensing through the state, and we would find a house that would fit. There's between 8 and 10 people in each house, so each room is shared, and we make sure that that it's a beautiful house. The living space is nice, and it's within walking distance of public transportation. And Woodbridge Township has been very accommodating. They do have addiction services, so they've been extremely supportive to us.
So, when you have these houses, you put them like in LLCs and a company name. Like, how does this whole thing work?
They're in an LLC.
Got it.
Yes.
All together, or are they separated?
No, there's all separate LLCs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have the Enterprise of RYSE that owns LLCs, I assume.
Yes.
It's probably the umbrella.
Yeah.
Got it. So, what's your future? Like, what are you looking to take this to, and where do you see yourself, RYSE, your partner? Where do you see yourselves in 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Like, what is the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal is to help transform people's lives, right? As many people as we can, because it doesn't only affect the person, it affects the families, the community, the workplace, everyone. And I think that we're coming back from when the pill epidemic happened, and people are now, it's evolved into heroin, and now it's fentanyl. So I think, and especially because there's a lot of awareness around health and wellness, that a lot of people want to get sober and be the best version of themselves. So it's really just to help people transform their lives and get back into life. And we want to continue to grow, and that's just our goal.
You ever imagine if it's possible to live in a society where there's zero addiction? Do you think that's a possibility?
No.
No, right?
No.
There will always be addicts addicted to something, someplace,
We were talking offline. I think addiction, we're all addicted to things.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, on different levels. And what I've seen is, and we were talking about it before, I've seen a lot of people who were addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol. They've literally like built empires. And we talked offset, it was, you know, it's the hustle in you, right? Like when you're addicted to drugs and stuff, like you do anything you got to do to get that high, to chase that alcohol, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, they just kind of like tweak their brain, and they use the same hustle for the legality of life versus being an illegal part of life. And that I believe that that's why people take off. And you were meant to do something and serve something. You're just doing it wrong, right?
Exactly. And that's what we talk about. RYSE Recovery, it's spelled with a Y because we like to we'd like to help people find their why, right? Because you lose it along the way, whether you're, you know, using drugs and you're hustling, your back's against the wall, you're going to make it happen, or you're closet drinking and you don't want your husband to find out. There's that little piece inside of you that can make it happen. And that's I feel like we have a leg up on the rest of society because we have that ability to do that at any given moment. And if you could just like harness that in a positive way, like you could do anything you really want.
How's your relationship with your parents now?
So my mom is she passed away. It was 2 years last month. But it was good before she passed. Yeah, we had a good relationship. And my dad, he's sober as well too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And is it because of your transformation that made them sober? Like they saw that you weren't having it anymore?
My mom, yeah. My mom, I put my foot down and I said, I have kids now. I can't tolerate this type of behavior. And she wasn't like smoking crack or shooting drugs or anything like that, but it was just the behaviors that came with it that was like toxic. And she got clean. She did really well for herself. And she was a great nanny. My dad, he's a great grandfather. So it's really, really nice to see a family become whole again.
So your husband is also in recovery.
Yeah.
How does this work? Like, how do you guys encourage each other? Like, I'm sure there's like crazy, deep, dark conversations that you guys have had maybe about the past, about things that you've done and maybe the things that you wish you didn't do. But how is it, growing old with someone else who was in addiction and raising a family and knowing that, both of you now are focused in business and doing the right thing, but like you still have this dark past behind you. And I'm sure it would come out more than if you were, with someone who didn't have addiction and didn't understand addiction. I think you guys understand each other more than maybe if you were with somebody who didn't understand addiction.
Yeah, definitely. Because we're always working on one another. We're always looking to like evolve and deepen our relationship and our understanding of one another, which has changed over the years, as each one of us changes. And there's been some relapses along the way, unfortunately, for him, pursuing his business. But you know what? I was there to support him. And there were things that I had went through too. I didn't relapse, but just other things. And we've been able to have compassion and understanding.
Yeah, it's tough.
It definitely is. So, with everything going on, your husband's owns a plumbing company.
Yeah.
You have 2 kids?
3.
3 kids.
Yeah.
3 kids.
Twins and something else.
Yeah. Twin boys that are 8 and my daughter's 6.
8, the 2 twins that are 8. And then RYSE is on the rise, right?
Yeah.
So when you put your head down to go to sleep at night, what often keeps you awake?
Oh man, how am I showing up for my kids? Right? Like, and success for me has changed over the years, right? Like it's not the house on the hill or the cars or anything like that. It's like, how am I showing up for my kids? Like, do they feel connected to me? Right? Do they feel I want to give them the best possible life, but not with, money, property, and prestige, but like the connection that I didn't have with my parents, right? Because they were too busy doing whatever it was that they were doing. And I just feel like staying in the center, right? Like staying connected to God and thinking, constantly reassessing if this is what I want to do.
How do you balance your personal and family life with all these responsibilities that you have?
At 4:00, my phone goes on Do Not Disturb, and I'm mom. And at 8:30, I get back to my missed calls, texts, whatever, when they're sleeping.
You're probably you have more triggers, I think, because you were an addict. So like people in your life, people who maybe even some other, soccer moms. I don't know if your kids do soccer, but just an example, soccer moms or, sports moms or dads, like you can tell because you've been down a path, like who the good fruit is, who the bad fruit is.
Yeah.
And how hard is that for you maybe when your kids, I'm sure, like want to hang out with so-and-so and you're like, I don't know about being around that dad or that mom. Like, how hard is it for you to like be like, nah, we got to stay away from them because you want your kids' best interest and you want your kids to be around environments that you were not around, right? Better environments. And sometimes you could tell, as your kids grow up, like, I'm not sure I want them to go to that house. Yeah, they can come to our house, but I don't want you to go to that house, kind of things. Has that happened yet?
Oh yeah, definitely. We have a pool, a big tree house. We have all the things, right? Because I'm like, everybody can come over.
Yeah.
Because I don't always want my kids going places. And, some people know that we're in recovery and they don't invite us places because we don't drink. We don't sniff coke. We don't like let our kids just do whatever. And that's okay because I don't want my kids surrounded by those types of people.
That's fucking terrible.
That is crazy. But I mean, does, raising kids with two sober parents, well, two parents in recovery and sober, of course, but in recovery, does it change the way that you might typically raise a child? Like, are you on high alert for maybe, and she's smiling already. She's like, yes, actually, high alert for certain characteristics or traits that, you may have had as a child. Like, is that something that you guys are constantly discussing, constantly observing?
I try not to put my stuff on them.
Right.
But I do. My one son, he collects, forget it, comics, baseball cards. Can you order this? Like he's got his eye on the next thing.
Love that.
But he's an avid reader. We keep him. He plays baseball 5 times a week. He's very. We keep them in tune and in check and hard because guess what? If my parents would have harnessed it in the right way, maybe I wouldn't have been an addict, right? Because I don't know if it's nature or nurture, but because you see basketball players and people like that where they grew up in a crack house, but they wound up doing great. So I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, but I certainly try to give them the best opportunity and just kind of thinking.
God made two of everything. Put them on New York,
Yeah.
Just saying. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, that's another conversation.
We always find our way to some kind of biblical reference.
I'm just saying,
always.
Hey, she said God. So it was just a joke, I was just trying to make us all laugh a little bit.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question about your kids because, they're obviously too young to be watching this. They're not going to watch this. Like, where and when, if do you think this conversation of your past, both of you, will ever happen with your kids?
Maybe when they're teenagers, right? They know they've been at events, so they know that we own recovery houses. And they're like, oh, can I go there when it's time for me to get a girlfriend so I can learn to be better? I'm like, no, it's not really like that. But when they probably, maybe they know we don't drink. They don't know we're in recovery or what that really means. But when they're teenagers, if the conversation needs to be had, like I always pray, like, God, if there's the opportunity, speak through me kind of thing.
Got it.
But they're too young now.
Yeah, I know that.
I believe in Santa.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Until they say, you lied to me for years, Mom.
Yeah, but Elf on the Shelf is real now.
Yeah.
That thing is annoying as shit. I'm so glad I'm over
I never
that.
had one as a kid, so I have no idea.
No, it's this new age
I
bullshit.
can't wait. They're like, we know the Easter Bunny. I'm thinking like, yeah, should I just tell them? Yeah, it's me, bro.
Crush their dreams right now.
Yeah.
With a tooth fairy?
I think
when did the tooth fairy go away?
I was always kind of honest with my kids. Like, I didn't play into that whole, fake stuff, Santa and all that. Like, I said, you believe what you believe. You know what I mean? It's about your belief system. I never said, yeah, Santa's real and this and that. Like, they did what they did. That way I wasn't a liar. And I wasn't like, because I looked at it like, yeah, the Easter Bunny, yeah, I guess. If he wants to hop around and leave baskets, that's cool. But, at the end of the day, like, this basket was in Walmart, and I thought it was cool for you. You know what I mean?
Wow. How did your wife react to that?
My ex-wife, she was, like, super big on it. And, her family's, like, super Italian, and they were whatever, and try to make this whole belief world. But I never told my kids that. And when my son finally found out from some kid on the bus that Santa was fake, I was like, it's it's about what you believe in and what you feel. It's just about the time and what it's all about. And you know, because we were going to church already, and you know that Santa is not the reason. You know, Santa is just a belief. It's in your heart. It's what you want to believe. So I didn't have to cover my ass because I didn't like tell them nothing. I think at the time my kids found out we were already divorced. But yeah, I wasn't a big believer in that shit because I don't know. I think we like the way we set our kids up. I read it in a book a long time ago. The way we set our kids up is like, oh well, if you lied to me about that, because some kids take that shit serious. Like you fucking lied to me for a long time, a small percentage, but that your kids can rebel on you. And I read it in a book when I was like probably like in my early 20s. So I said, you know, I'm never going to tell my kids that stuff's real.
Yeah.
Like the tooth fairy, you know, like that's just straight bullshit.
They asked me about Santa. I said, well, maybe the kids who don't believe in Santa, maybe Santa's not going to go to the house. So if you don't want to believe, you take the chance.
They get shitty gifts. Those kids get shitty gifts. You know, you want
Get
shitty
underwear.
gifts.
And I knew like when I grew up, like, you know, super humble. We didn't have a lot of money. And me and my brother were shitheads one year. And my parents like literally bought coal and put coal on the tree.
I got it one year.
Right. Yeah. And there was no fucking gifts. Right. So like at that point, I already knew there was no Santa. Because all of a sudden now you got a couple of gifts that came out of the closet the next day. Santa wasn't putting that shit in your closet. That wasn't on no TV shows. You know what I mean? So like I just kind of like knew early. I was already thinking. Yeah. But yeah, I just always said like I don't want to tell my kids things. Like even I'm a true believer in like, you know, do as you say for everything. Like I set the example and the precedent for my kids no matter what they do in life. And like my kids will tell you like I'm rebellious. I don't quit it. Nothing. I have such grit and I go after it. Because that's what they know about me. So I don't want like one small little fairy tale to like ruin something. And that's just me. But other people want to play it out hard. That's cool. It's just the elf on the shelf was like, I was like, this thing, can we drown this thing? Like, I'm not even trying to do this right now.
Right.
We forgot to move the elf. Oh my God. God forbid, right?
Yeah.
That was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Never seen it. I have no idea what anything.
It's some stupid shit that came out like 10 years ago.
Oh, that's fine.
And people go fucking crazy about it.
Yeah, no, we do the elf. But I'm looking forward to not doing the elf.
It's a pain in the ass.
It is.
It's a goddamn responsibility every single day.
It is on top of everything else during the holidays. But whatever, I'm not going to be negative Nancy here.
Digress.
I'm not going to be Karen.
Digress. During the inception, when you just started, you know, when you opened up your first sober living house, what was the biggest hurdle you had to get over?
Leaving my job.
What would you do before?
I worked as a case manager in a recovery program.
Okay.
So leaving my job was huge because I felt like, well, what if this doesn't work out? And my sponsor said to me, she goes, well, you could always just get another job. And I was like, right, exactly. And that's what I did. I said, I resigned and did my best. I just showed up and I to be honest with you, I chased my recovery like I chased the drug, right? So every day I'd wake up and I just did what I had to do, make sure that the women were good, make sure that the beds were full, make sure that people knew about who we were in the community. And I had strong roots there. So it wasn't that hard. Like people believed in the mission.
How long did it take you to get your second house?
6 months.
So, I mean, you overcame your fear by just quitting your job and just went after it. And you saw yourself in a position. And what I've gotten from most people who are in recovery, like doing what you're doing, it's not about the money. Like, yeah, you do it for a living now. Like it's a part of your living, but it's a part of your purpose and it feeds you, right?
Right.
It's almost like a pastor, right? A pastor gets paid to preach and do his thing, but like his purpose is more to serve, right?
Right.
So you guys are doing it to serve. And I think that like I've seen other people who've tried to get into sober living and look at it as an income and they've ultimately failed and had to get rid of the houses because they're looking at it as a bank account versus a purpose. So I think that you guys have done what you did and you got into it for the right reasons. And I believe that that's why you've been able to build what you've been able to build and continue to grow. Do you have like a point of like how big you want to get, how many houses you want? Like, is there a cap or are you just going to keep going?
Whatever the good Lord puts on our hearts, you know, I'm not against growing to 100 houses but there's other areas too that we can certainly help serve. Like we see people stay a long time because they don't have anywhere else to go because the cost of living in New Jersey is so high, right? So what does it look like to help somebody get out and get into, you know, a house or a down payment or get them in the right career? So that's really what's important for me to kind of look at the patterns here.
All right, Alyssa, it was a pleasure having you on the show today. We learned a lot about sober living houses, a lot about RYSE. I hope that you continue to rise. If anyone's looking to follow your mission, your vision, your story, or know somebody that they want to get into a sober living house, how exactly do they find you?
They can go onto our social media. My phone number is there, or they can reach me on our website. My phone number is there. Rick's phone number is there. And
What's your website?
it's www.ryserecovery.com, and it's RYSE.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming today. If you're not following us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, go ahead and do so.
Please subscribe. See you soon.